We are live.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our public council meeting for September 6th, 2022. Jeez, I can't believe how quickly the summer has gone and the fall has arrived. Council, you see before you the agenda. I note there's nothing outside the kit. So on the motion of the Deputy Mayor and Councillor Rice, I'll call a question to accept the agenda. All in favor? Anybody opposed? And that motion is carried. Thank you very, very much. Now I'll read the lands acknowledgement. We begin today's public council meeting by respectfully acknowledging the province of Newfoundland and Labrador as the ancestral homelands of many diverse populations of Indigenous peoples, including the Beothuk, who have contributed to 9,000 years of history on the island of Newfoundland. Today, this province is home to diverse populations of Indigenous and other people. We acknowledge with respect the diverse histories and cultures of the Mi'kmaq, Innu, and Inuit. We honor this beautiful land together as we strive for collective healing and true reconciliation. Now, let's, everybody doing okay there today? That's a virtual meeting, of course, because of the strike that we're experiencing. Council, you see before you the public council meeting minutes for August 24th. I want to say thank you to Ms. Mullins and Ms. Pratt for all your efforts in pulling these together. We need to, however, correct for any additions or any errors or omissions. Council, would you have a look at those minutes, please, first, before I call them to be accepted? Okay, I'll call for a motion moved by Councillor Fry and seconded by Councillor Lane that we adopt the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you very much. Council, please quote the item number either in the action report or the minutes for any business arising. Quiet there tonight. All right. Now, we also see before you, Council, minutes or minute related to the public council meeting, a special meeting we had on the 25th of August. Anything coming out of that, folks, that you'd like to comment on? Okay, hearing none, here we go. Let's do proclamations. And the very first one is related to suicide around the world. World Suicide Prevention Day, and I'm happy to have Lee Bursey join us here today. Welcome, Lee. Good to see you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor.
And I'll read the proclamation, and then the council and Lee, if you'd like to join in with some discussion, that'd be rather perfect. Thank you. Whereas an estimated 703,000 people may a year take their life around the world. For every suicide, there are 20 other people making a suicide attempt, and many more have serious thoughts of suicide. Millions of people suffer intense grief or are otherwise profoundly impacted by suicidal behaviors. Whereas World Suicide Prevention Day was established in 2003 by the International Association for Suicide Prevention in conjunction with the World Health Organization, the 10th of September each year focuses attention on the issue, reduces stigma, and raises awareness among organizations, government, and the public, giving a singular message that suicide can be prevented. Whereas we can all play a role in supporting those experiencing a suicidal crisis or those bereaved by suicide, whether as a member of society, as a child, as a parent, as a friend, as a colleague, or a person with lived experience. We can all encourage understanding about the issue, reach into people who are struggling, share our experiences. We can all create hope through action and be the light. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, the Mayor of Mount Pearl, on behalf of my colleagues and council, we do hereby proclaim September 10th as World Suicide Prevention Day here in the city of Mount Pearl. And that's coming up very, very shortly, later on this week. And I attach my signature to that. And I'd like to invite Lee, if you don't mind. Would you like to speak to it before members of council join in?
Please. Thank you very much, Your Worship. My name's Lee Bursey. I live on Park Avenue. I'm a new resident of Mount Pearl as of November last year. And I'm also a multi-time suicide attempt survivor. Was very public about that when I believe it was Member of Parliament Charlie Angus a number of years ago was putting together a bill for a national anti-suicide prevention strategy, and asked constituents and different folks from different areas within their respective communities to speak out about these issues and encourage their local members of Parliament and their local politicians of all stripes at different levels to rally behind these type of initiatives, because I'm sure all of us can remember a time around this table that it wasn't always such a simple issue to talk about. And even today, a great amount of stigma is still attached to anything that people consider to be very personal and many times very challenging. Now, as someone who has been predominantly involved not just in mental health and addictions, but also in homeless outreach and working with those in cyclical poverty, I'm addressed with the challenges of mental health and the challenges of despair almost each and every day. And I've been a part of a variety of circles as a 3-term municipal councillor in Ontario before residing here. So aside from my own personal experiences, of which I'd like to say were some forgotten time long ago, that would be inaccurate and unfair. It's an everyday challenge sometimes to be able to sometimes see the light at the end of the tunnel, especially when we're talking about people who may be perplexed with any variety of issues, including income inequality and of course, an unstable job market or a variety of issues that may exist inside their own homes. So I definitely encourage people to be kind as often as possible, and remember that kindness is free currency, and we should use it as liberally as possible. That said, also, it's important that our institutions recognize these moments in these days, because many people who work within the corporation, who are related to the corporation, citizens within the municipality, ratepayers like myself and others, may be struggling very much in silence. And it's important that we show solidarity amongst our colleagues and our friends. That's what makes a community great. And finally, I'll close my comments by saying, in a time when we would, it would be nice to be able to acknowledge these events publicly in avenues that right now at this time, the current climate might not permit for us to be doing many public events. The one thing we can do is make space at our meetings, much like this council has willingly done in a very short period of time to make this acknowledgement possible. So I'd like to say thank you for that, for starters, and definitely encourage each of you to mark it in your own individual ways. And hopefully maybe next year we might be able to come together in a different time and different climate to celebrate with some level of vigil and understanding as a community. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. It will not be the last time. As a dedicated and passionate ratepayer within my new community, I look forward to bringing other issues forward and talking with you about those. But I think it's important that we stand up and speak for those who sometimes might not feel that their voice is important or heard. And I think this is the first step towards hopefully many that we can do to be the inclusive community I know we can be. And I look forward to you passing this proclamation today.
Thanks, Lee. And you're right. You can't stop just at the institutions. Tax dollars are used to create the institutions that do offer some of the major supports for people and families who experience, the impacts of suicide and suicide attempts. But it starts at the community level. It goes right back into every household we have here in the city of Mount Pearl and in our great province. So I think you made a really good point about talking about it. It has to be community based, and it's all about not about holding hands. It's about working together. And every person's story is a personal journey. And frankly, none of us are prepared for that journey sometimes. But at the same time, we have to join together as a unified community to ensure we're prepared to help our neighbors and friends get through it. Just like with any other crisis, let's not just make mental health something we put to the back door. The stigma has to end. And I think we've done a good job as a society of doing that over the years. So thanks again, Lee. I'm going to turn to my colleagues. I see some hands up. I'm going to start in order. Mark, Councillor Rice, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Lee, I'd just like to acknowledge, you coming on and speaking today. It means a lot to us, me, and I'm sure all the rest of council and our directors and staff here on this call tonight. So it certainly hits home. I work with government, and over my career, I've had 2 people that committed suicide, 2 of our tradespeople in the system. I was really close to one, and one worked at another site. And it really hits home hard, and you see the warning signs, and you try to ask yourself questions. I guess what could I have done, or what So every time we see a warning sign or somebody's off or not feeling having a good day and stuff like that, I always And we encourage everybody to ask questions and say, "You okay? You need any help? Would you like to have a chat?" type of thing. And also, I had a couple of close friends of mine who were around my age, that committed suicide as well. It's not a good feeling for all of us, and that's why I certainly support this initiative. I mean, as many more initiatives, but it's really important to me as a councillor. And I certainly appreciate you coming on and telling your story. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor Rice. Councillor Lane, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you so much, Lee, for being in our meeting here this evening, because mental health and suicide prevention is so important. When I was in school myself, one of my classmates committed suicide, and it was a very difficult time for everyone involved. This was the last person that you would think that was struggling on the inside, because this was the class clown, the person who had the smile plastered on his face at all times. It just goes to show that mental health does not wear a face. We all have internal struggles. And now as an educator, I try to make sure that in every classroom that I'm in, that I bring awareness to mental health, because it's truly, no one should suffer alone, because there should be no stigma to it anymore. And the more we talk about it, the less stigmatized it becomes. So thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Over to you, Deputy Mayor Kiley.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you so much, Leigh. And I want to say to my colleagues also, the conversations we're having right now about suicide, the fact that we're saying the word suicide and we're talking about the experiences closest to us is so important. This is a matter that is both professionally, personally important to me. I am lucky and have had the privilege to do ASSIST training, which is applied suicide intervention, suicide training. ASSIST training is something that is available to anyone who wants to be a part of a suicide-friendly community and a suicide-safe community. When we think about suicide, and you said it so well and articulately, and my colleagues are already connecting with those within their own circles. When we start any sort of training when it comes to creating a suicide safer community, it talks about, first of all, your personal connection to it. And what I always I'm just always in awe of how many people are connected to it and how many people this does affect. And it really is tip of the iceberg. Where we see individuals die by suicide, there is more people in the matter who have been touched by it, who have been thought about it, who have attempted. And the more we recognize that it is something that happens regularly. It is something that exists in our community. We have to recognize it. And I think the more we step out and recognize that we can talk about suicide around a kitchen table, around a boardroom table, around a council table, the better we all are, because a big part of the epidemic is when it's silenced and we feel shame and stigma. And the fact that we're lifting that up today by acknowledging it through a proclamation, by one of our residents taking it up and self-identifying and giving their lens and expertise and understanding to it. This is helping so many people, and this is where the real good work starts. So I just want to say thank you very much for that. Also, a little bit more, if anyone is interested, ASSIST is always looking for ASSIST trainers. I have been one, and I started as someone who is like a trainer, and now I train the trainer. And it is one of the most rewarding experiences I have ever had. And I'm only too happy to share about that. And like I said, anytime we talk about suicide, I always want to talk about ASSIST, because there's so many in our community that are doing that work. And I've had the honor and pleasure to work with. So thank you so much again, Leigh, and thank you to all my colleagues that are contributing to this important conversation.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Fry, please.
Well, I'm not going to repeat all of the wonderful things that were said, because they're all very true. And I too thank you for coming in. But more so, I thank you for speaking out about it, because from just us here on the screen, you can see how many people have been touched with people who have died by suicide, whether it's family, friends, somebody you know, even Robin Williams. I mean, Robin Williams was the epitome of happiness. And I think that in itself taught us a lot about society, and that it can happen to anybody. So the more people like you who come out and share your experience, the more value it is in ending the stigma, because it is real, and everybody, I believe almost everybody, has been touched in one way or another, and it's preventable. I mean, I know I look at it, there's no difference in mental health and physical health. I mean, if you have cancer, diabetes, you have depression, you have schizophrenia, whatever it is, it's all an illness. And the sooner that society comes together and recognizes that it's all one, the better off we'll be. So I thank you with all my heart for coming out and for sharing your experiences. I had the privilege of doing a session. I'm part of the Municipal Mental Health Task Force, and we had a guest speaker who was a mother of a son who had died by suicide. And to hear her story and the heartbreak, and she reached out for help. She looked for help. She recognized it. She tried, and it didn't work for her. So we need to, sorry, there's some people outside my house. So we need to discuss this more, and we need to be part of it, and all of us together do our part. And I thank you for coming in. Thank you so much.
Councillor Ansel, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you very much, Lee, for coming in. You know, as I'm going through this, just recently I lost a good friend of mine to suicide. And it's only now I wish we had talked a little bit more about it at the time, because you never ever saw the signs. I don't know if there are signs or not, but I think if the more we talk about it, the better it is, the more open we are. You know, even sometimes sitting down having a coffee, at least we try to say we're always open and this kind of thing. So I'm really glad that you're here just to talk about it more, and we as a council talk about it more. You know, it's quite emotional for everybody, and thank you very much. I don't want to say any more. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Ansel. I think we're nearly done the roundtable, and I appreciate council's comments. I'm going to finish off with our CAO, Dana Spurl.
Thank you, Mayor. And thanks to Lee for coming. I think it shows not only great strength, but great courage that you take your own circumstances and, you know, you're speaking publicly and you're trying to help. So personally, thank you for doing what you're doing. And like others, I've been touched by this throughout my life, family members, co-workers, children and friends. And, we all can attest to how difficult it is to go through that. And conversation, I think, is our greatest weapon against it. And I've had those difficult conversations with people, and, sometimes it's just the low. It could be a day, and just having someone to talk you through it can make all the difference. So I really appreciate that you're sharing that conversation. And as we all know, we're in the middle of our own, trying circumstances here in the city of Mount Pearl, and just appreciate how difficult this is for families and co-workers and, staff, council, all of us. It can really be emotionally trying, and our mental health has to be a priority. So just encourage anyone who's listening, anyone who works for the city, all of us here, to, don't be shy to have that conversation with folks. If you need to reach out. Occupational health and safety is priority, it's top priority, and that reaches to mental health as well. So again, thanks, Lee, and it's a great conversation to have today.
Thanks for joining us, Lee. We're going to move on now. We have 3 other proclamations. It seems like typically it's spring and fall, but again, thanks for sharing your experiences. And Council, I'm going to move on with your permission. Proclamation now is related to Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, which is September 2022. And whereas there are about 10,000 children living with cancer in Canada today, and each year about 1,600 cases are diagnosed, over 20 of which are children in Newfoundland and Labrador. In Canada, childhood cancer remains responsible for more deaths from 1 year through adolescence than any other disease. And about 1 in 4 children who are diagnosed with cancer will die of the disease. Because of significant advances in therapy, 78% of children diagnosed with cancer will survive 5 years or more, an increase of almost 46% since the early 1960s. Whereas childhood cancers have close to a 75% cure rate, with leukemia leading the success charge with close to 90% overall cure rate. Now, I therefore, the Mayor of Mount Pearl, on behalf of my colleagues and council, we do hereby proclaim September 2022 as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in the city of Mount Pearl, and I shall affix my signature to that as well. That is also brought to you in addition by the Candlelighters Association of Newfoundland and Labrador, home of Camp Delight for children with childhood cancer. Sorry, for children with cancer. Council, any comments related to that proclamation? Hearing no, wait, no, I have to get my screen. Was there any hands up? Councillor Rice, sorry.
No, just one comment there, Your Worship. Just want to acknowledge, the Courages up on Glendale Avenue. I mean, they come to my mind. I coached Becky in volleyball when she was 11, 12, 13 years old, right up through with my daughter, Sydney. And, it certainly hits home when it's that close to home. And I just want to acknowledge that she was a phenomenal person and such a good friend and family to, all the friends around Mount Pearl and the Courages, Deb and Guy and the whole family. Just want to acknowledge that they are now part of the Candlelighters, and they attend every year. They attend the camps and stuff, and Becky's memory will never be forgotten with all the family and friends. Just wanted to acknowledge that, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? All right, let's move on to the third proclamation. And I think it's fair to say, starting up front, this is in memory of Susan Glynn. This month, we recognize those who have died and offer support to those who continue to fight for their lives. Whereas the Canadian Cancer Society estimates that close to 3,100 women and girls of all ages will be diagnosed with ovarian cancer this year, and that over half of these women and girls will not live to see 5 years. And whereas ovarian cancer is the most fatal gynecological cancer in Canada, and yet the survival rate of women diagnosed with ovarian cancer in Canada has not changed in 50 years. Whereas early detection of the disease remains the best way to save lives. However, there is no reliable screening test for ovarian cancer. Symptoms include abdominal pressure or bloating, digestive problems, excessive fatigue, frequent urination, and changes in bowel habit. And whereas the Women of Hope group was created in 2016 and now has over 2,700 members worldwide, the group's mandate is to offer support for affected women, their families, and friends, and to raise awareness of ovarian cancer and encourage the Teal movement. Therefore, be it resolved that I, the Mayor of Mount Pearl, together with my colleagues on council, we do hereby proclaim September as Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month. And I shall sign that proclamation, and I know Nikki Glynn with the Women of Hope, who was Susan's sister, will also sign that proclamation. Council, I'm going to turn it over to you. Many of us knew Susan Glynn as a regular coming to our council chamber, or even virtually. And I suspect, yes, Councillor Fry, you would be the first to speak. Thank you. Go ahead. That is so disrespectful. That is so disrespectful. Our union is out there during this proclamation, blaring on the microphone in somebody's house. That is terrible. I'm going to go to
yeah.
I can go forward and then
we'll come back to Councillor Fry.
Yeah.
Councillor Antle.
just it's so good that we do this every year. And I know Councillor Fry was a good friend of Susan, and I'm sure she's going to talk well on that. Ovarian cancer, my sister-in-law is a ovarian cancer survivor. And just later on this month, now we're going on a ovarian cancer awareness ride. We're taking off this weekend, so it's always hits home. Ovarian cancer is something that's very near and dear to everybody's heart, I'm sure. And that's everything for me, Your Worship.
Yeah, I'm going to suggest to Councillor Fry, turn your microphone down a little tiny bit. That might help.
I think it's okay there now. No.
Go ahead, Councillor Fry. We can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
This is so important to me because when I first met Susan, she was living with ovarian cancer and I knew nothing about it. And as a woman, it's something that we should know about, but it's the most undiagnosed cancer, and it's a deadly cancer. So I encourage women, all women, to get tested. I'm sorry, I'm right here by my window. This is really important to me. I encourage all women to get tested. There's a poster that has 5 Bs. It's bowel, bloating, blah, all of symptoms that us women tend to overlook as just a common occurrence. But if you experience those, please get tested. Thank you. I'm just gonna end it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Anybody else, folks, would like to comment? Councillor Fry, you did handle that very, very well. And I know you spoke truly on behalf of your friend, our friend, Susan. Over to you, Deputy Mayor Kiley.
Thank you, Your Worship, and well said. I just wanted to support my colleague in her words, and somebody who is, she knows so personally and I respect so admiredly, and especially speaking out for something that for many years had needed a lot of advocates and a lot of work and support to recognize something that sometimes is an unseen form or illness and bringing it to light. So I think women's reproductive health is a very important topic, and any matter in which sometimes without strong advocates and good people in our lives. And I just wanted to support my colleague in her comments and what has been said in the proclamation today. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Councillor Rice, is your hand still up?
Yeah, no, I just put it back up there. So I just want to acknowledge support as well, Your Worship. It's really important, to acknowledge. And, the comment came back a few times about, early detection and warning signs and stuff like that, So it's really, really important, I guess, from the medical side to, I guess, see changes in your body and trying to adapt to something that's not new to you. So, getting medical advice is really important early to the treatment of cancer. And I guess a recognition of getting early treatment, I guess. So I just want to put that in there as well. And thank you, Isabel. You did a great job.
Okay, I think we're over that one, and hopefully we can continue our meeting without any disrespectful interference in the background. I'm going to move then now to the final proclamation of the day, which is related to arthritis. And I'm going to start off in the middle paragraph because arthritis is not just arthritis. It's very serious. It causes debilitating pain, restricts mobility, and diminishes quality of life. 6 million Canadians, that's 1 in 5, live every day with the fire of arthritis, and there is no cure. Without a greater spotlight on this growing issue, the number of Canadians with arthritis will continue to rise to about 9 million by 2040. And community support has been critical throughout the Arthritis Society's 74-year history, enabling the organization to fulfill its mission to fight the fire of arthritis with cutting-edge research, bold innovation, fiery advocacy, and evidence-based information, and patient-centered support. Whereas during Arthritis Awareness Month this September, we seek to raise voices and awareness, and we are encouraging everyone who lives with arthritis and all those who know and love them to fight the fire of arthritis. Whereas the Arthritis Society is Canada's national charity dedicated to extinguishing arthritis for good, be it resolved that I, the Mayor of Mount Pearl, on behalf of all my colleagues in council, together with our city, we do hereby proclaim September as Arthritis Awareness Month in the city of Mount Pearl. And I sign that together with Judy Noordemir, who's the Vice President of Marketing and Communication with the Canadian Arthritis Society. Council, any questions or comments? I think we've all been impacted by arthritis. What's your experience, Councillor Fry?
Thank you, Your Worship. All of these tonight seem to have a significance to me, but this one in particular because I also have arthritis, and I know that there are a lot of people who, in Newfoundland and Labrador especially, who wake up every morning with stiffness and aches and joints, and especially as you age, it's normal to get a certain arthritis in joints, but there are parts of it that are very serious as well, and some serious conditions, and people live in a lot of pain. And it's also difficult, it's not as easy to get to see rheumatologists here in the province. So when you see something like this with, actually, I wanted to mention as well, Dr. Proton Raman, you guys probably know of him from the COVID briefings. He is a rheumatologist here, and he is doing a lot of research on arthritis and genetic conditions and genetic connections. So when you see something like this, like it's not just a crooked finger that you might notice or something like it, there are a lot of people who live with serious pain in this. So I'm so happy to see this, and I'm so happy to see awareness, and I'm so happy to see research and everything that goes along with it. So these 4 proclamations tonight are very significant. I'm very happy to see each one from here tonight. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Deputy Mayor Kiley.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is a matter that certainly is personal to me as well. But it's a matter that my sister has had rheumatoid arthritis, and she was diagnosed at quite an early age. She was 24, and that's sometimes a matter that we had no idea. When you think of arthritis, you think of it as a particular population, a particular age. And this is when we really understood that arthritis can affect so many parts of the population. And rheumatoid itself is a very different type of arthritis where, depending on the day, depending on the week, it can be a matter of where your joints in your legs or your arms. So it's unfortunately, it's one of those things you could not necessarily always depend on the same abilities and motor skills throughout the week. What I wanted to pay attention to, that my sister has been an incredible advocate. She herself has had rheumatoid arthritis, but she also has worked and volunteered many years with the Arthritis Society and a lot of the walks and promoting some of the support groups. That those with arthritis is giving me a real important lens that there is life with arthritis, and you can thrive from that. And a real big part of that is understanding it with an accessibility lens. And so when we think about things that we're building in our community, such as our accessible playground, or when we do accessible washrooms, or when we make flexibilities from working from home at an employment, or when we start making things more accessible, those are living with all forms of arthritis, or that's another form of accessibility and inclusion that we have to think about. Certainly universal design and the ways in which we increase our accessibility is also supporting this. In addition to the leaps and bounds and efforts that we're seeing with medications and treatments that can help somebody, and people are thriving and living productive, wonderful lives. But I just wanted to say that I tremendous respect for everybody who is living and coping with this, and a specific just thought to my sister, who has done a lot of work in teaching me and educating me around the disease. And thank you very much for bringing this to the attention. And that I'm so happy again. I agree, Councillor Fry, that all of the matters we're talking about tonight are quite important, and I'm glad we get to speak.
Okay, thanks everybody. I'm going to move on now to the Corporate Services Public Works Committee. Deputy Mayor, you may as well keep on trucking. And we have Councillor Antle standing in for Councillor Locke tonight. Go ahead.
Okay, that's one for the jar. I forgot to unmute myself. However, thank you, Your Worship, and I'll go right into, we have 3 items for the Corporate Services Public Works. One is invoices for approval, and as you can see, they're in your kit. the committee recommends that the following invoices be approved for payment. And there's two matters there. There is one with the Provincial Investigate Services, and that's the video security services that were already discussed at previous council meetings in relation to keeping safety at mind during this time. And the second is to the City of St. John's, which is the water consumption for July 2022. And that is a normal piece of information there. Our normal, invoice that comes out of our shared services. Altogether, the total is $284,999.82. And that is, I so move.
It is moved by Deputy Mayor Kiley and seconded by Councillor Antle. Before I call the question, is there any questions, Council? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Counterminded? Carried. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you, Your Worship. That brings us to our second, which is our payment register. And this is just for the information. So the following payment, as we see in our kits, are from the position of August 23rd to 31st, 2022. And the total is $753,852.24. And these are, again, a list here of all the payments and registry, and it's just for information. And of course, as we've deemed before, if anyone has any questions in relation to the items or the descriptions, we certainly can make those available, and happy to answer any questions from our committee. And if none,
looks like we can continue. I'll back to you again.
okay. That leaves us to our third and final member. Our third and final item for the corporate services, and that's Public Works status report. So this is just an update that was provided on the Public Works status. Garbage collection continues to be on a bi-weekly basis at this time. Parks and playgrounds are open. Sports fields are being mowed. The parks and playgrounds and open spaces are being mowed as well. Trail and parks litter collection is ongoing, along with graffiti being addressed. Inspections and maintenances of lift stations and pump houses continue, along with water sampling that continues daily. Flower planters and hanging baskets are being maintained as we speak. Tender for traffic control services are drafted and released for publication. And finally, recycling drop-off days were held on August 1st, 8th, and the 15th of August, 2022. So that is, of course, during the time of a labor disruption and a strike. So again, what we're seeing right now is a limited range of services, but certainly being kept up as much as we possibly could during this difficult time. And I thank everybody for their patience, and I thank everybody who is doing the work of maintaining these essential services.
Final questions or comments for the Deputy Mayor, Council? Hearing none, I'm going to move on. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. We're going to go to the Planning, Engineering and Development Committee, and I'm going to ask for Councillor Fry to begin, please.
Councillor Rice, did you have a question?
Yeah, I have one there actually on the recycling. I know, like with the labor disruption on right now, I just had a question.
From the corporate service. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, on the bottom of the update, I have a question for Director Dallemont. If we see this continuing, I know I've had several calls from residents that are really into the recycling program, which is great to see in our city. Just wondering if we got any, updates on any future recycling drop-offs or something that we can, move forward to look after recycling if this labor disruption goes into the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Director of Public Works.
Thank you, Councillor Rice. Great question for sure. And at this point, yes, we are looking at a bunch of different options for we'll call a short-term recycling collection. And, if the labor dispute continues, we're looking at a long-term. So we hope to have some details on both later this week. Once we get that nailed down, we'll communicate out to council and the residents. So stay tuned.
Thank you. Appreciate the update.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move to the next committee. Thanks, everybody. Over to you, Councillor Fry.
Thank you, Your Worship. First on our agenda tonight is our new Civic Center splash pad and ice rink facility. So this is one that we're all looking forward to. It's good news. This is the Prime Consultant Services Owner's Advisor. So a limited call for proposals was issued on June 7th and closed on July 15th. And there were 3 submissions that were reviewed. The Owner's Advisor scope of work includes, but not limited to, work with the city to review concept and finalize scope of work, develop the performance requirements, not the final design, as other design and construction elements that the future design build team needs to determine. And the Owner's Advisor team is to include an energy modeler to evaluate the proposed building energy usage, building expertise to create and evaluate a net present value scale, legal expertise to evaluate and build insurance and contract sections for the design build request for proposals, design expertise to evaluate proposed concepts, and project manager with a background in design build. So the draft and the design build RFP, which will include the final design, the environmental and climate change consideration, city policies related to development, quality control, evaluation matrix, technical and financial, the construction management, contract administration, which is the payment review and certification and progress meetings. So the approximate schedule for this would be to issue the design build request for proposals in November of 2022, award the design build RFP in April of 2023, to finalize the design in November of 2023, and to start construction in June of 2023 onto December of 2024. And the warranty project closeout from January 2025 to January 2026. So this is not going to happen overnight. It's a process, but we're started. And the preferred proponent is Wood Environmental and Infrastructure Solutions. And they provided a cost of $552,895.47, HST included, to complete the scope of work outlined in the Owner's Advisor. And that's for the Civic Center, our RFP. So our recommendation, the Owner's Advisor scope will refine the concept and cost estimate. So through the work of the Owner's Advisor, the project focus will be to ensure the budget is maintained. The Planning, Engineering, and Development Committee recommends ratification of award of the contract for Owner's Advisor services for development of a design build RFP for construction of a new civic center, splash pad, ice rink facility, and site upgrades to Wood Environmental and Infrastructure Solutions for the proposed bid price of $552,895.47, HST included, and I so move.
Thank you very much. Moved by Councillor Fry and seconded by Councillor Rice. Councillor Rice, would you want to weigh in here?
I certainly can. Yeah. This I think this is a great initiative for the city of Mount Pearl. Going out to RFP and getting a consultant and design build is a really good, because I guess you hit all aspects of hitting all the key points of energy conservation, conserving energy, what we should build, what we shouldn't build. And a lot of our buildings in Mount Pearl are aging. I mean, we have Park Place. That's outdated and pretty old. We have our Gloria Pearson Center up on top of the hill that's not meeting our needs, I guess, for the art community. Every time I guess any function in the city right now that requires amount of seating, we have to go to the Glacier Arena, which is not a very, I guess, privy to to the arts community with hard seats and stuff like that. So I think it's a great initiative. Hoping that the prices come back, competitive. I guess that's why we're going this route, so we can get a good competitive price, and hopefully the pricing will come back that will meet our needs and our budget requirements. So we're looking forward to it.
Thank you, Councillor. Director Antle, part of the process here is to try to mitigate the risk associated with that, the post-COVID inflation. Things are expected to normalize a bit more in 2023, but seems like everything has taken a spike. How does this contract help us in that regard?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, part of this will be through a design build RFP process to ultimately engage a vendor for the design and construction. Through this process, we'll be able to consider things like efficient design, We can consider things like energy efficiency, climate change measures, any number of features that will compensate or build here that'll be part of combating the current inflationary pressures that we face. Some of this will be unique and innovative as we advance through the process of using our owner's advisor. But ultimately, as Councillor Rice has indicated, this will be through an RFP process to actually secure a preferred proponent, which I would add to what Councillor Rice said. It's the pricing as well as the quality of the team that will be put together to build the new Civic Centre. And that's how this evaluation will be done, as well as one of the things that we've used in the past to our great success has been looking at the life cycle costs of actually operating a facility of this nature. So you don't just look at the capital costs, it's the entire life cycle, all of the operational costs, the energy costs that'll be borne into calculating a net present value. So there's a fair bit of work that will be done to ensure that the overall Civic Centre has its intended life cycle.
Thank you, sir. Deputy Mayor Kiley, followed by Councillor Antle.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to identify my support for this particular part of the process, and specifically around design build. And I think well said by my colleagues as well as Director Antle at this time. You know, if we were to put it in easier terms, is that, you know, you measure twice and cut once. And I think this is a great opportunity to ensure that all parts of this project, which will have a great and direct impact on the city, whether that is through the services and programs it's going to offer, the expanse it could do to some of those, or to the life cycle of the arts and culture of our city, to the life cycle of the engineering aspect of this, but also the financial costs. So we're going in with eyes wide open, and I think that's important. That any sort of large facility or endeavor that we're taking on, that we have our eyes wide open around that. And I do appreciate and support the consultation process that needs to follow to ensure we're in a good space. So I just wanted to throw my support there and why. And of course, there'll be a further discussion once we have that information at our table to see where we are and what this looks like, and to plan in a way that's smart and it's going to hopefully benefit this entire community.
Thank you much. Councillor Antle, please.
Thank you very much, Worship. Just a couple of quick comments. It's great to see this RFP going through. In the RFP, one thing is very important, I think Councillor Fry brought it up, is this is we refined the concept and the estimate. I mean, that's very important. We all know that we need to replace Park Place, but this RFP is very important to go through and make sure we can refine the concept and get the real actual estimate before it goes through. I think it's a great idea to do it this way, and then we'll keep control of costs. I really appreciate how we're doing that, and congratulations. Well done to the director and this department to do that. I look forward to see the end results. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I think one of us, though, I wouldn't want to assume anything, Councillor Lane, but you do bring a unique perspective, right? And I think this is a real, maybe not the building, but certainly some of the outside components of this new facility are really going to be kid-friendly, if you will. Any thoughts?
Absolutely. Thank you, Your Worship. I think that, I've heard from several residents, I know when I was going door to door, and I've still had several messages since, with the excitement of the young families in the community about this new Civic Center, particularly the splash pad. I know a lot of our residents now enjoy taking advantage of our beautiful fountain we have at St. David's Park. Serena certainly enjoys it quite often, but I think the splash pad is just really going to add another safe and inclusive space for our children to get outside and enjoy the weather, and our new ice rink surface as well. I know many in our community will really enjoy that. So I think that as a young mother here in the community, I know I'm looking forward to it, and I'm sure that our residents are truly going to be so excited to have this addition to the city. So thank you very much.
No, thank you. And I think, too, if you look at the success in the last 3 or 4 years of building the temporary rinks within the community, and of course, the challenges with the weather meant we couldn't always keep them up and running. But when they were flooded and there was ice made, they were extremely popular throughout the community, right? So I really believe that It's good for our community's health and well-being at the end of the day to get everybody out in summer for the splash pad, as you said, Councillor Lane, but also in winter for a bit of exercise. So thank you, everybody. Without any further ado, I don't see any other hands up. I'm going to call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
And those opposed? And the motion is carried unanimously. Thank you.
Yeah, there's going to be lots of special memories made there with families in all kinds of ways. Looking forward to that. Okay, next on our report this evening is Park Avenue and Commonwealth Avenue asphalt renewal. So as you guys are aware, whenever we do a job like this, sometimes there's some adjustments in quantities or cost. And in this particular case, there is a contractor change order, number 1, and there's different parts to this one, so I'll do them separately. Part A, the contract includes a clause for liquid asphalt cost adjustment. So as a result of the changes in liquid asphalt pricing from the time of the award of the contract, this adjustment resulted in an additional cost totaling $24,706.17 HST included. We all know the price of fuel and how that has increased. Part B is changes were required to correct a cross-section of storm sewer leading to a sanitary manhole. And that is a cost of $7,569.12 HST included. And then finally, Part C is materials testing, such as compaction testing, asphalt testing, at a cost of $3,345.10 HST included. So our committee, the Planning, Engineering, and Development Committee, is recommending approval of contractor change order number 1 payable to Modern Paving in the amount of $35,620.39 HST included. And I so move.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Fry, seconded by Councillor Rice. So in a nutshell, it's an inflation adjustment, a storm sewer that wasn't on the plans. And of course, you always have to do the testing at the end of the day, don't we? Yeah. Council, any questions, any concerns? Looking for hands, sorry. All good. I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Contraminded? And that motion is carried as well. Thank you.
And now I'm going to turn it over to Councillor Rice to finish the remainder of our report this evening.
Thank you, Councillor Fry. Your worship, number 3 in our PEW tonight is building and occupancy permit listing. This is from August 22nd until September the 2nd. In your kit, you'll see 5 items there. So the planning, engineering, and all this is for the residential, by the way, building construction for residential. So Planning, Engineering, and Development Committee recommends that the building permits issue for this period, showing a total construction value of $31,500, be approved, and further that the occupancy permit list be accepted as presented. And I so move.
Councillor Rice's motion, the occupancy permit list, no, the building permit list. Right?
Building permit, yeah.
Yeah. And then a second by Councillor Fry. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Carry on.
Thank you, Worship. Number 4 is development permit listing, and this one is for issued on August the 30th, 2020 for the company is Game Changer Coaching. It's a commercial school and recreation and group fitness use on number 8 Panther Place. So the Planning, Engineering, and Development Committee recommends that the following development permit be approved as presented for the period of August the 2nd to September the 2nd, 2022. And I so move.
Thank you very much. Moved by Councillor Rice, second by Councillor Fry. All in favor?
Aye.
Contraminded? Thank you. Carried.
Okay, so number 5, status report for information purposes only. Capital project update. So Park Avenue asphalt renewal. The bridge work down has been delayed a little bit on Park Avenue area, but it's projected to start within the next 1 to 2 weeks. Smallwood Drive asphalt renewal, it's pretty well completed. If you drove over there within the last several days, you see now that all the line painting is completed. And I'm not sure 100% of all the equipment is removed, but there's some mostly is pretty well completed there now, substantial completion. St. Davis Avenue Smart Accessible Playground. The structures is being assembled on site, and the rubberized surface is being installed the first week to the second week in September. Asphalt and concrete contract awarded. Work is currently ongoing at various locations around our city. So if you drive around the city, you'll see them being completed. And that's all I have for our report, Your Worship.
Councillor Rice and Director Ranto, when is the St. David's accessible playground expected to be complete?
Director Antley, you want to take that one? I got the answers, but I think you really do a better job than me.
Councillor Rice, you could do a phenomenal job. Your worship, the work at St. David's Accessible Playground will be completed, we anticipate, later this fall. I would add that the rubberized surface is actually delayed this week. That's a subcontractor with that specialized work, so they're now scheduled to be on site next week.
Well, looking forward to closing this contract out as we move on to other ones within the city, not to mention Camelot Hill and of course the new Civic Center and the like. So that's great progress that's been made on that particular front. And I must say, from what I see right now, it looks phenomenal. It really is going to look even better once the new surface gets installed, right? So thank you very much for that. Any further questions, council? Comments? Hearing none. Sorry, Councilor Fry. I see you now. Sorry.
Director Randall, do you think we'll still be on target to conclude this project by the end of September?
I would not anticipate the end of September. There's some complications occurring on site, so I expect it'll be later this fall.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let's move on to the next committee report. I believe Councillor Antle is going to begin the discussion from the Recreation and Community Safety Committee.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I got two items and I'll pass it over to my colleague, Councillor Lane. The first one has to do with our fitness programs and classes. For the information of public, for those who register for various fitness programs, Aqua Deep, Fit Fitness, Yoga, Pound, and Tabata, which are all supposed to be concluded by September the 1st. You should all have your refunds now. We're very close to it. People who registered or paid online will receive the refunds automatically. Anyone who registered in person, just relax, or just they'll be contacted very shortly, and please be patient. Our staff are working on those refunds. And that's regarding our fitness program. And now with our swim lessons for the fall sessions, the swimming registrations for the fall sessions can need to be placed on hold due to our ongoing labor disruption. Information related to this registration program will be provided as soon as possible, as soon as we have some changes. And that's everything for me, and I'll now pass it on to Councillor Lane, Your Worship.
Thank you much.
Thank you very much. The third thing on our agenda is the pool chemical vendor recommendation. On July 15th, 2022, the awarded vendor, Billrock Industries, Rockwater, supplying the city of Mount Pearl with muriatic acid for the treatment of our pool water, indicated that they were no longer able to continue to supply this product for the tender price bid, TP 21-033, which was set in January 2022 at $404 per drum, HST included. The new price quoted by Billrock is $502 per drum plus HST. The committee now recommends approval to award East Chem, the second lowest bidder, the contract to supply and deliver the muriatic acid to the city of Mount Pearl at the price of $467.13 per drum for the remainder of 2022 fiscal year, with the option to extend based on maintaining the existing price. And I move.
Moved by Councillor Lane, seconded by Councillor Antle. Again, I guess this is coming out of COVID. It's more inflation, and people wonder why. It's going to become more and more challenging to manage the budgets here in the city. Council, any particular comments before I call the question on this particular item? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Your Worship, I got one question.
Councillor Rice. Yep.
Yeah, just wanted to add there, and you're spot on when you say, an indication of COVID times, and we've seen this trend, ever since COVID in the last couple of years, especially with our asset management replacement, the prices. Every time we put something out to tender, it always comes back either the tender got canceled because they couldn't meet the requirements of the bid, or we turn around and we see prices increased by X number of dollars for most of our product. And this is another indication of a price increase. I mean, we're talking $404 for a drum, a 45-gallon drum, and now it's up to $502. So, it's a true reflection of of what's happening, and we see it with healthcare as well. You know, it's a true reflection of a price increase. And you're absolutely right when you talk about, you know, trying to operate your budget within the means of what we have in the city. And it's difficult, you know. I think going forward in the next several years, you're going to see the capacity of the prices are going to be really hard to maintain. And right now we don't have any, you know, the revenues are dropped down. So it's very difficult to, you know, to have a balanced budget and looking at what we have. So I just want to add that in there as well. You know, it's a true reflection of COVID times and indication of prices. So thank you.
Thank you much. Further comments before I call the question? Seeing no hands up, I'll call the question. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. I'm reading something here in the chat. No worries. Okay, let's start the roundtable. I'm going to begin tonight with Councillor Fry.
Thank you, Your Worship. I don't have much this evening, but I did get my car washed yesterday. No, day before yesterday. The Mount Pearl Blazers raised the money to go to PEI, and they had a car wash. And I've got to say how impressed I was with these little guys. They were so organized and so efficient and so professional. And I mean, the manner in which they did it was so focused. I got to say, I'm really impressed. We should hire each one of them, you know, when they get older. Amazing. Anyway, I just wanted to wish them good luck in their fundraising because they worked hard and it really was impressive. It was good to see. And also, speaking of kids, I don't know about you guys, but my Facebook was full of people with their kids and back to school. So I just want to take this opportunity to wish everybody a happy first day back to school. I know it's kind of sad to see the summer come to an end, and we had such a beautiful summer, and it happened so quickly. But fall is a beautiful season too. So to everybody starting school and MUN and all of the parents, especially parents with kids who are leaving home, because I can relate to that one, thinking of you all, and have a great year. And that's it for me, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor. Deputy Mayor Kiley.
Your Worship, just a few things for me as well tonight. I think a lot of the conversation was maybe at the beginning of the meeting with certainly some of very important proclamations. Just wanted to also recognize, yes, it's back to school, and there's two things I wanted to identify. First and foremost, many thanks to the summer students that were working within our municipality this year in all sorts of ways, whether it was through our day camp programs, or keeping us safe, or doing all those sort of work. And I really appreciate, and hopefully you got as much as you can from your experiences. We certainly see a value of having you there as well. And secondly, with regards to back to school, just recognizing safety during this time when it comes to walking and that sort of thing. We're all going to have to get used to maybe some longer wait times and being cognizant of children at crosswalks and being very, very mindful of some of the speeding limits in the areas in which children are known to walk to and from school. I think it's really important that all of us have a part to do some community safety. Also, I just wanted to I also identify again, it's been a challenging time for many of us, and I know back to school, and we are still in the midst of a labor disruption and strike. I just wanted to identify that it's again knowing that this has been a very challenging time, and we've talked a lot about mental health over this meeting in the course of all different ways, and I just wanted to reiterate the importance of that, and that when we are working things out and when there is conflict, that we really take a time to recognize and empathize that everyone is people. That when you're talking to somebody, whether you are unionized, non-unionized, in a workspace, not workspace, that we all deserve to be treated with respect and dignity. That, when we are doing our rights of protest, we're doing our rights of striking, or we're doing our rights of negotiation, that we acknowledge each other as humans first and foremost. I think that's really important. And I think more and so when we are seeing I've seen multiple myself being picketed at my own home right now, and hearing today of colleagues that are being picketed, and knowing that that can be very difficult, and especially if you're in a place where you've got neighbors that are senior citizens, you've got individuals that have children. Just being mindful of these are places where people are living and everyone deserves respect during this time. That's not to say it's easy. That's not to say that it's not emotionally difficult and it's not charged. But it's something that we need to recognize at all stages of this process, and even during our hardest moments, that we think about those things. And I'm proud to call myself a resident of the city, and a resident of and an individual and a steward of the city. And that's all I have to say right now.
Well said. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Ansell, please.
Your Worship, I just got a couple of things. One of the ones that has to talk about our strikers and our picketers within the city. And I want to start off first, but I certainly respect our strikers and our employees. They certainly have the right to strike. They certainly have the right to picket. But last Friday, my house, around 10 o'clock in the morning, I had picketers show up in my house. And they were here for about an hour and a half. They had bullhorns, they had loudspeakers, they had boom boxes, the cars were blowing horns. They were generally making a nuisance in the neighborhood for about an hour and a half. Now, at that time, it was only myself and my wife, Roxanne. She never got elected to council, but she was here and she was quite upset. What was all this racket out in the neighborhood? But anyhow, that was it. It was our employees' rights to strike. This morning, they showed up again. They showed up again at 10:30. My wife takes care of our 3 grandchildren. I have 3 grandchildren from 5, 4, and 3. My grandson was here this morning, and he was scared. He was scared because the picketers were on my street yelling out, Grandpa, or they were calling out, Bill, Councillor Rental, come out. I'm not trying to get upset, but he was saying, Grandpa, how come are these people out in the street calling for you to come out? He was scared. So I put him in our back bedroom so he couldn't see. So we put up for them. My wife was here in the house. There was 25 or 30 people out on our lawn, out on our street, yelling, come out, come out. My daughter-in-law works here. She was working home this morning. She was afraid. It's not right to have to put up with this in our homes. I understand having to picket on city council property, but not in our personal home. In our neighborhood where I live, everybody knows where I live, I'm easy to find. There are a bunch of senior citizens, many senior citizens. Just this weekend, there was a tragedy in Saskatchewan, and there was a manhunt. And this manhunt was out looking for people. There was people in front of my house calling out, come out, we only want to talk to you. Now, what do you think a senior citizen would think when they never heard that? They didn't see the picketers. All they could hear was someone on a loudspeaker, come out. You're going to be safe, come out. So here was seniors, didn't know what was happening, but there was a bunch of people outside of my house. You know, I got elected. I was okay. I did this. If you want to picket City Hall, go ahead. That's your right. You know, I support you to do that. Everybody has the right to stand up for themselves. But the seniors didn't do this. They never stood up. They never got elected. They didn't have to have their own privacy invaded on a Saturday morning or a Monday morning. All right. You know, someone asked the other day, as I got over this, all right, you know, it's the right to strike. But I want to know, did any union guy have to take his grandchild across the picket line? I had to carry my grandchild this morning because he was afraid. I didn't appreciate it, and I still don't appreciate it. We did it today, and I don't want it no more. It's just not right. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ansell. Over to you, Councillor Rice, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I agree with you, Councillor Antley. You know, it's times are right and times are wrong. You know, sometimes you do things that you know, is outside your comfort zone. I guess when you're talking about the people that are on the labor disruption right now, and I agree with you. You know, like you know, you know, they're in at my house as well. You know, I got thick skin. And I've always had thick skin because I was brought up that way, you know, and just, you know, speaking to everybody, you know, that are listening here tonight, you know, I was on strike twice with NAPE. I was a NAPE union member for 22 years, and I was on the negotiating team with NAPE. So I know what it's all about, sitting across the table with management and sitting on the other side looking across at workers, And, I think right is right and wrong is wrong. And the longer this dispute goes on, the more it's getting complicated. Now we don't need to have it get complicated like it is. I think it's time to get back and to both sides and sit down and talk a sensible conversation. Being radical and being disrespectful. And my neighbors came down to me after they were over there on Friday morning, and they said, "How could you ever put up with stuff like that?" I said, "Well, that's it. They got the right to come there, and the street is public, I guess, city property, and." But it bothers a lot of people, and it bothered me as well. But I mean, I like to see him. Like the longer this goes on, the worse it's going to get, and I like to see everybody get back to the table again and sit down. But we're not going to go jumping up and saying, "Oh, here's the deal, and here we are." Like we mentioned before, the city got we got items to attend to in the city when it comes to the financial part. But we've been more than fair, in my opinion, and we've been more than calm, cool, and collected. And I'm not going to make any comments from the other side. But it's time to knock off yelling through that bullhorn and get back to the table and get a deal for both sides that is fair. That's just my opinion on that. And we can go on for weeks and weeks and weeks again. But I think the time is to get back and try to get this settled. That's just my opinion. And thank you, Your Worship, for your time.
Thank you very much. Councillor Lane, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I think that Deputy Mayor Carley said it right in that, we're all people, we're all human beings with feelings and emotions. And no matter what is going on from either side, it is absolutely paramount to be respectful to every human being that you encounter, no matter what obstacles or what emotions are in the way. And saying that, I just want to extend a congratulations to some of our amazing sports community, because despite what's going on in the city, we still have lots of fantastic athletes in Mount Pearl. So I'd like to extend congratulations to the Mount Pearl boys under 17 Tier 1 team on their gold medal performance at the Premier Youth League Championship. I'd also like to congratulate the Mount Pearl boys under 13 Tier 1 team on their silver medal performance, and the girls under 15 Tier 2 team on their bronze medal performance. So a huge congratulations to our very talented youth that always thrive in our community, no matter what's going on. And that's it for me, Your Worship. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lane. And yes, I'll finish off, folks. And I do want to recognize the challenge we have in our community right now. And frankly, we do and are thinking about our employees, our unionized employees, as well as our management staff. And, last Friday, my wife was home alone, and, we had to call the RNC and the municipal enforcement over, basically, so she could get out of her house to go to work. I think there's some innocent people here that get caught up in it. And I like Councillor Antle. I do respect people's right to picket at the end of the day. But I think people should just think about what they're doing for a second and see, and this is not politics, right? Are you impacting the lives of people who are not really caught up in this dispute? My neighbors report today that, engaging with them was very difficult. And I want to say to people, please don't engage. Try to ignore as best as possible. It's I won't say it's dangerous, but it can be very concerning from a physical and mental point of view if you engage with some of the protesters. One of my other neighbors is reporting that there's a lot of speeding of vehicles taking place. And again, we get back to that same issue every time. We just want all of our people, whether they be residents or employees, we want them all to be safe at the end of the day. I just want to offer heartfelt gratitude, especially from Friday morning past, for the help of our municipal enforcement people and the RNC. They're doing work. They're trying not to get too involved in the labor dispute. Our municipal enforcement people are our own employees. The RNC are not. But we've tabled a very reasonable offer. And I think, to Councillor Rice's point, sometimes maybe we're better off spending our energy on compromise. But I do believe it was very fair and reasonable at the end of the day. And council, I know, stands firmly behind that offer. So we go forward from there. I have no further updates in terms of any progress in that, but I do know that staff have been working all day long to run the city, and we do regret the reduction in service levels that we've seen here in the last few weeks, and we want to get this over with soon. I still remain optimistic. If we can all just get along a little bit better. I don't mean we have to be very loving with each other. I'm not trying to say that. I just want to make sure that we remain safe and respectful. I think that all of us stand together to ensure that our health and safety is first and foremost. So on that note, I'm going to say good night. Council, thank you for attending here today. And on motion of Councillor Antle and Councillor Lane, we stand adjourned. Take care. Good night.